Twistar82.
I'm doing alright, Ruckus. Can you hear me alright? I'm just testing out a bunch of stuff. See if I can get it going on. I'm gonna try to change my voice right now.
Should be in the Dark Emperor voice. Hopefully that works. Should be good.
Welcome to the Boneyard.
Ruckus. Following me. He's following me. Alright. Yeah. I'm not mixing music like Oxford, but I'm playing some music, doing my warm-up, testing all my new stuff. I'll be making coffee here in a minute. So if you enjoy the music, just sit back and watch all the special effects. I'm doing the explosions right now. I know what you're really doing, Ruckus. I know.
Wow.
Alright, I put the coffee on. Gotta have coffee. Hi, man, the 2080 video cards came out. And I got one coming. I wonder if Star Citizen's gonna use that ray tracing. I wonder if that topic's made it over to Spectrum yet. Spectrum. I wonder if the search works. Is there a search? I don't see anything so far. It says anything about Star Citizen supporting ray tracing, but maybe this thread right here. It's extremely unlikely. All right, I'm gonna go get my coffee. It should be ready. Then I'll be back, and we'll do some Star Citizen news. Alright, got my warhawk. Let's see if there's a patch or whatever going on with Star Citizen. There's no patch. Last I remember, I was stuck at Grim Hex. Alright, we're waking up at Grim Hex.
The Dark Lord says, wake up, Twistar. Wake up.
Hopefully when I spawn my ships, I got like engines and doors and all that good stuff. Number 5. So, number 5. This way. Number 5. One, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, done. No engines. Like crap. I haven't been able to play because of this. Bunch of bullshit. I think I gotta delete my user folder. Set all my buttons again. Oh my god. Let's try to get another ship. Landing pad number 1. Nope. Where the hell is it? Yeah. It's down here. Might be it. See any numbers anywhere? Yeah, this is it. Oh, looks like it's got no doors. Got no way in. Holy shit. Wow. I'm being punished by the Star Citizen gods. Every ship I spawn has got something that keeps me from being able to fly out of Grim Hex. I'm stuck here for 3 days.
Your ship has been delivered to the following landing pad.
I just want off of this planet. No. Get me out of here. Just to give everybody an idea, I probably spawned like 20 ships so far trying to get off this planet over the last 2 days, maybe 3 days. Is there any type of engine in this thing? I don't think there was. Hey. No. There's no engine. That's why I don't get nothing to go into it. Damn you. That would be it normally. Depressing day, Star says. Okay, let's think. What can I spawn and get lucky with? Come on. Think. Maybe. I haven't tried a caterpillar yet.
I'm sorry. Your vessel exceeds the size limitations for our hangars.
That's what I thought.
Unfortunately, our automated system is unable to access that ship at this time. We apologize for any inconvenience. Please try again later,
bullshit.
or select a different ship.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, what ship can I pick? What will have an engine? I fly. By the 300. Maybe the 300 will have something for me. Can't get no engines, man. Can't get no doors. I guess engines are really expensive this time of year or something. It'd be really nice to fly out of here. Don't look like it has an engine. That's pretty crappy. No engine, no nothing. Alright. So, if I'm right, in order to fix this, gotta go to our delete the user folder. But wait a minute. There should be a file in here I need. Yes, there we are. We got that. Take this control folder, put it there. Okay. Well, I guess I just delete everything but the. And we'll restart it. What a pain in the ass. I'm going to be doing the news in about 8 minutes. Shout out in Discord too here in a minute. Probably be covering the 2080 and the 2080 Ti launch. So, music volume. Ooh. I think we're doing about 50% on that. Alright. Graphics. Yes, very high. View. Full screen window. How we like it. Alright. And I don't really like monitor blur, but it's already off, so that's good. Okay. I'm gonna go to controls. No, key binding. Keyboard advanced. I thought there was like an import button. See save. Reset. Oh, this must be it right there. Ooh. Never seen this before. It's not gonna let me reach my other joystick, which is probably my pedals. If I just put them to none. See what happens. Oh, that didn't work out for me too good. No, none of that was really good. Divine slider. I see. I just need enough controls to get off of this planet. Oh, I don't need that button set. Oh, this is just such a pain. Hopefully it fixes my problem. My ships spawn the correct way.
Under your control, everything is real. So hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you, I feel a connection. With you, it's like an infection. I've been infected with an obsession. With you, never any tension. Nothing but love and affection. Enough of my case, so let's cut to the chase. Listen up, cause these are the directions. Obey what I say, don't complain, I don't wanna hear questions. Follow my lead, time to fall to your knees. It's an order, it's not a suggestion. I'm about to teach you a lesson. I recommend you pay attention.
Alright. Almost there. Oh. Light movement. There we go. Alright, it's already unbound. Right. We're getting ready to do the news. The news is coming. Star Citizen News. What a good time it's gonna be.
None of this shit can stop me.
All right. And away we go with Star Citizen News. Get my browser going here. I'm going to start out with checking the games. Or the games. However you want to pronounce it. He said he was coming back to Star Citizen and he was going to make some more videos for us. That's the one. No, it's not. Watch this one. Well, he made this one. Check it out.
I love it. We do need the money though. Jiru is right. Definitely use the money. Okay, now somebody's got a beacon out there for 400. We should check that out after this, if it's still there. But I like when these people put the beacons up. I want to get a hang of the beacon system. Yes, I did see the Blood Moon pies. It was freaking amazing, man. I went to an observatory last Saturday night, with the kids and Christy, and I talk a little bit about it in the podcast that I'm going to release on the DGN channel. But we had a lot of fun. Let's put the box down. Okay, that seems to be going a little bit better. I remember when that was really glitchy. We did have an issue where one of the boxes was glitchy on us. Alright, now where do we go? So there's our cargo. Alright, now where do we take it?
One of the boxes was glitchy. It must mean the box hand bug.
Yeah, we saw Mars actually. From an observatory. It's absolutely brilliant. We saw Saturn the month before last. Yeah, our moon has 1/8 the gravity of Earth, I believe, Jeff. Could be mistaken about that, but
Hello and welcome aboard your Drake interplanetary craft.
Alright, we're leaving. Alright, let's see where we need to go here.
Starboard.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Peace out. Gotta say, guys, I'm getting them feels again. I'm getting them feels again.
He's only in 720p for some reason.
Oh wow, delivery drop off.
I think this is just a
is
video
that on the
of
other
this
side,
Twitch
guys?
stream.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
No, we're not watching this video. This isn't news. This is just this Twitch stream. So, let's go to the next one. The next one is Minion Soldier. See what if he's got some news. Yes, he does. Let's hear it from Minion Soldier. Put a link to his video here. Chat.
So the question of third-person view versus first-person view in Star Citizen, what makes sense? Why not just use camera drones? Now, the concern around using a third-person view giving you some kind of gameplay advantage is 100% legitimate. It is a 100% legitimate concern. Just because it works in a different format or a different game doesn't mean it works for Star Citizen. The standard format of a third-person MMO, like seen here, is based around the idea of a dungeon runner.
Well, you can see behind you.
Situational awareness. This gives me the ability to use mob control on different mobs all around me. It allows me to CC. It allows me to do all kinds of things in a dungeon run environment where I need that situational awareness. However, this is not the format that Star Citizen uses as a game, and quite happily so. It isn't a dungeon runner game. This is a first-person universe, and it's based around the idea of delivering the most immersive experience possible.
With no doors.
When it's working.
He's got the
now,
same
of course,
problem.
There are different types of immersion, right?
I'm not the only person.
There are different types of atmospherics, but Star Citizen really kind of goes for that first-person look. And problems aside, difficulties aside, Star Citizen delivers 100% in this area. I mean, yeah, there's bugs and there's problems. What game doesn't have them? Even when I showed that clip of World of Warcraft, you should have seen the launch event for BFA. It was quite terrible. And, the actual launch was equally bad. But Star Citizen, this game is designed from the front. When we bought into this game, we knew it was going to be a first-person universe. It was designed that way, and it exceeds in many ways in that delivery. It's very beautiful to look at, atmospherically. There are parts that are lacking, but even when they were talking on Ask the Devs on Monday, they were talking about atmospherics for the asteroid field because people were asking about the Aaron Halo, the asteroid field around our corp. And they were saying, well, that's going to come a little bit later. You already see the asteroid field around Yella, but it's kind of dry. It's kind of one-dimensional. And we want to add some atmospherics, I guess, like dust clouds moving around in the asteroid field, or just the asteroid field itself having a cool dust cloud effect, which would give it more atmosphere, more personality. 100% understand that. And that's kind of the experience that we're buying into here, right? Now, as much as I said, there are the concerns around a third-person view, and they are 100% legitimate because it is a gameplay advantage. If you can fly your ship from outside of the ship, and you guys see me doing it a lot when I'm landing a ship, I'll switch to third person.
I like third person too.
To varying degrees of success.
Like
now.
Diablo
I've learned
3.
how to fly my ship in the third person to make landings work. And we've discussed systems before, overlays, or there's of course the radar view. I mean, even the Canadian Will made those suggestions again in the last video where we were talking about this. A lot of people have suggested these things, and of course, a cockpit like this, you can see very clearly around you. You have a good idea of where the ground is, so it's not that hard. But should every ship be designed with a bubble cockpit that lets you look down, up, and all?
That's why I like it, because in any type of PvP environment, people are always going to try to sneak up behind you.
I want to say originality to its design.
And then having an ultra-wide monitor.
The interface.
I can zoom out even farther.
With the game.
Good morning, Chris.
I think the interface that we have through the UI,
I made buttons to play with.
That's available to us as a pilot and as a player. I think that is the area where the conflict comes in.
I'm working really hard on the stream.
In a ship like this is delivered. This cockpit is delivered exceedingly well. This is an excellent cockpit, in my opinion. The Buccaneer has one of the best cockpits of all the fighters in the game. Now, say what you will about the Buccaneer. I've been kind of learning to love it again, but I'm waiting to see a few changes and a few systems come in. But I've been really enjoying this ship, but it's a much more realistic cockpit. You have to look down. You know, just the same way as when you're driving a car, you have to glance downwards to read your instrumentation. Like, you kind of know what speed you're going at when you're driving a car, but if you want to look at the speedometer, you have to look down to actually be able to read the numbers, right? Say, like, if you want to read, you know, how many miles you've gone, you look down and you have to purposefully, you know, aim your eyes downwards to read those numbers. You're aware of those dials when you're driving, but
I don't know how that happened.
in the end, a third-person view, you could say, oh yeah, but you could just let us, you know, fly in third-person view, and you could just have this holographic instrumentation around our ship, and we could just fly that way, and it just solves all these problems. True, but the problem is that Star Citizen was designed around the idea of it being a first-person universe. And the interface that we have just doesn't deliver in the way that we need it to deliver. It doesn't give us the information that we need in order to make that first-person universe really work. So you have that point of conflict there, right? Where I feel that aesthetics are coming in and idealizations are coming in, and that's kind of pushing back on the needed tools to make the first-person universe really work. Whereas the ships themselves, you could argue that these ship designs, all of them, across the board, are 100% fine if you allow players to fly in the third person. However, players flying in the third person will have a definite situational awareness advantage over players flying in the first person, and that's why, for combat purposes, it really shouldn't be allowed. Now, we seem to be stuck in a paradox, right? We seem to be stuck in a paradox where if you want original ship designs, you can't have every ship having a bubble cockpit. And once again, you know, the Canadian Will, he made that point. You can't have every ship being able to look up, down, all around. 100% agree. 100% agree. But I feel that it's not so much a problem of straight up aesthetics as it is user interface. That it is a user interface driven problem. And that CIG wants to exercise this artistic freedom.
Hey,
which
Lurch.
fine, 100% fine. But we need a user interface that allows that vehicle to function realistically, that allows a player to be able to use that ship at the same level or very, very close to it as someone having an open cockpit like this. We need those tools. That is something that is a very high priority. The user interface currently in Star Citizen is not very good. It doesn't, I mean, aesthetically, it kind of fits the universe that you're building for, but the tools themselves that you give the players to allow these different cockpits and to allow these different ship kind of configurations, they need to be brought up much higher. I mean, you have to start thinking about overlays, augmented reality, things of that nature. Especially when it comes to piloting a ship, players need to be able to see the ground. They need to be able to see in the dark, not 100%, but they need something more reliable than their headlights. They need the ability to function as a pilot would need to be able to function in this universe. Like, if you have a ship that has a 50-50 chance of killing you because you can't see the ground or you can't orientate yourself in the dark, and guess what? Surprise, surprise, there's some dark areas in space. You need to factor that into your user interface, and you need to, factor that into your player's control interface. You know, it's aesthetics are fine, and the aesthetics in Star Citizen are crisp. They're beautiful, but you need to give players the tools to navigate those environments. And I think that is one of the
Listen,
areas,
man,
especially in the user
I need that
interface,
view to land my
that
ship.
needs a lot of work.
Period.
There's a lot of cool ways that you can do that.
It's got to at least be there for that.
Different control packages and components.
I don't care what other,
to a ship,
what else
possibly
happens.
give you different
I gotta be
overlays
able to
or
land my
different
ship.
qualities of overlay, and you can balance that by the amount of slots or what types of components a ship can handle. Whether it needs computing power or heat dissipation, whatever, you can control what players can do to a certain extent. but we need better tools, I think. And it's, we can argue aesthetics till the cows come home. Some ships you're just not gonna like. It's just like some cars on the road. You look at them, and you're like, I cannot believe somebody spent $30,000 on that. And then to the next guy, they might look at that and say, that's the coolest car I ever saw, right? If we get the right tools and the right user interface, I think that this problem kind of solves itself, and it allows artists to express themselves much more freely while still not compromising the player experience in such a way that in a game where you have hard death and hard loss, a player might look at a ship like that and say, you know what, aesthetically I like it, but it's too much of a gamble.
I brought
It's
many
too much
gifts
of a
for you,
penalty.
Lurch.
I wish I had
Many
the UI
gifts.
to use it, but
Are you
realistically,
there, Lurch?
it just doesn't really match up to the reality of the game. So that's kind of where I fall on the third person issue. I agree that it shouldn't be allowed for gameplay
I want to know if
reasons.
Lurch is
I,
here.
as a video maker,
Not.
kind of like having it
Sometimes he's
because
just
it
working.
allows me to capture these beautiful shots. Even still images of this game are just striking. And that's why I kind of, while I agree with the fact that third person, allowing players to look around corners or allowing fighters to have better situational awareness when fighting an asteroid field, I agree with those points. But I still like to have the third-person camera for the beautiful camera shots, I know. But, as a video maker, it makes my life 100% easier. So, I'm not sure about the drone idea. I mean, it could be interesting, but for right now, I think that we're kind of in a good place where you don't have the UI. But I think
I got so much stuff, Chris.
If we had the right tools, then things like landings, flying in the dark from the cockpit wouldn't be so much of an issue, and it would enhance the immersion of the game to have those proper tools so that you could stay in the cockpit view while landing the ship, and maybe even make it so that when you're in the third person view, you can't even control your ship. Like your ability to control your ship is removed, so that you can circle around your ship or your character and you can capture all these cool shots, but perhaps there's no control interface, so there's no direct influence that you can have over your ship while you're doing this, so you can't pilot it at the same time. However, a change like that should come hand in hand with an enhanced user display that allows you to interact from the cockpit much more effectively. I think if you come to a point like that,
I think it's a conspiracy myself.
Get those tools out there in players' hands. You give
give
yourself all kinds of artistic freedom with your ships and with your cockpit designs and all of that. 2, you improve the immersion of the game, allowing players to stay in the cockpit and really experience the universe the way you want them to. And then 3, you still have something like this so we can capture these amazing and beautiful shots of the game that
it's freaking cold.
We kind of paid to build.
I think it's gonna snow.
That's my point of view on third person versus
holy
first
crap,
person
it is snowing.
Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Alright, that was Minion Soldier. Third person view. I want to have it myself, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not unfair if everybody has it. My opinion. Everybody has it. It's fine. And if they don't put it in, then people will hack it until somebody finally gets it, and then it'll be used unfairly and everything will get out of control and it'll be bad. So let's see if the Daylight Gamer has made anything. No, he hasn't made nothing in a month. I like that guy too. He was doing so good. Montoya. Let's check him. Oh. I'm sure Panda's brought us all up to date. That's 4 days old. Youngblood. Let's see. You know what? We didn't watch the news last week because I was having too much fun playing. So, yeah, we haven't seen this one.
Hey guys, Youngblood with you to continue our journey through the star map. This one being a bit strange visibly, almost having that same distortion we see on the screen, specifically in like Vanduul systems, but this one is for a much different reason, and we're talking about the Oratani system. Now this story starts in the 25th century surrounding a mining scan operator by the name of Micah Zahir.
Awesome,
now, working
Chris.
aboard his mining ship, the Asura. Now, work was pretty slim at the time, in the Pharaon system, mostly due to the controversies that were surrounding the distribution of
plastic was
mining
bent
rights.
beyond repair.
Now, after making some
Had to
much
send
needed
it back.
updates
Oh,
to
I'm
his
sorry,
ship, he was
Chris.
basically broke and had to go up taking on some alternative roles in different types of jobs, like running escort for supply runs. Now, on one run in particular, the ship he was serving on got information that there were some raiding parties on the supply line, so he ended up altering the ship's course. Now, working the radar station, he ended up identifying a kind of an odd signal. He wasn't able to determine what it was. He was able to tell it wasn't another ship, but before finishing up his scans, it basically vanished, or they kind of fell out of range, or something happened. Now, the supply run would end up successful, but he was just too curious about what he had actually found. So he returned later alone and started on an investigation to see what he saw out there before. Now, what he found out to be previously undiscovered was a jump point, which is pretty interesting. Now, he took several trips through this jump point to get it fully scanned, and upon claiming the discovery, decided to name it after his favorite starship from a movie hit from about 15 years earlier, the Oratani. Zahir would end up taking the profits from the discovery of the new system to buy land on Selene and Vega, where he would end up spending the rest of his life, eventually becoming one of the largest landowners in the system. Now, Oratani would lead to a lot of excitement because we were still in the rapid expansion phase of human history, and new systems were far from old news at this point. Oratani had 6 planets. 2 of them immediately were cleared for terraforming by the Pathfinders that went there, and that meant opportunity, especially with one of those being in the green band and potentially habitable on its own. Oh, and to help with the terraforming and creating jobs and a stable economy here, there was also a mineral-rich asteroid belt that was present here too. The UNE would eventually pick up Taraya terraforming as, there was a ton of people that wanted to terraform, right? It's still new. There was a lot of technology that was coming out, so they had a bunch to pick from. They ended up going with Taraya as to take on the job of making Oratani 2 inhabitable, which seemed reasonable, but it was a little bit odd because they have never actually terraformed a whole planet before. The company did do a good job, though, of hiring people with a ton of knowledge and experience by luring them with large paychecks, so they would end up having more capability than a startup would typically have. But they ended up having something interesting in the fine print, which was that the people that worked on this would actually need to live on the planet that they build after the completion was done. And the idea was that the results would be better if they knew they were creating their own future home. It's a pretty interesting idea, and one that kind of makes sense. Now, that idea drew a ton of qualified candidates that were eager to make their name on a system of their own, and terraforming started in 2483, just 2 years after Zahir announced the discovery. Now, all seemed to be going really well, and the head of Taraya would become, pretty prevalent for bragging, and, everything kind of seemed a little bit preachy. She would come in and say that we were a year ahead of schedule, and people are happy, and everything was great. There was also an aggressive media campaign going on that was being led by Taraya, swaying public opinion. However, there were also some reports that were coming out saying there were things like food rationing taking place on the stations that were leading to black markets. And some of the employees hadn't actually been informed that Oratani 2 is actually an ocean world, which meant that even though they were terraforming it, they would actually have their new home consisting of them living on a platform in the middle of a huge ocean, which isn't necessarily ideal, right? So with these rumors starting to become a little bit more prevalent, Taraya invited journalists to come along and see for themselves, hopefully to go back and report the things that they would see. Only 2 days after they entered the system, the jump point from Oratani and Pharaon collapsed, leaving everybody stranded from the rest of the UNE inside the Oratani system. Now, this was a huge catastrophe because to this point, people had just kind of assumed this romanticized version of exploration and expansion was reality.
ITB, how you doing,
we go out
buddy?
into this and we easily change and conquer it to, really make space our liking. But it was a harsh reminder, and it kind of shook the collective spirit of those who ended up seeing this happen, and people didn't even understand how it was possible. The previous thoughts were that the jump points were unstable, but they never just vanished until this happened. So tons of ships just flooded out to the last location of the jump point. They tried to reopen it. Scientists and companies all got involved. Donations were spilling in, all in an effort to do something. But can you reopen a jump point that's collapsed completely? They just didn't know, and unfortunately, they wouldn't find an answer. Months passed, no progress was made, and it just eventually sank in that we're probably aren't ever going to know what happened to that jump point, to the system, and to the people. Now, we have relays and scanners and ships that are regularly on rotation for any signs that are coming out of the system or for potential new jumps that are opening up, but nothing's pinged anyone to this point in time. So eventually, there's just kind of this fear now from explorers that are going out into the wild. And systems that were already discovered began to hoard supplies just in case this happened to them. Systems that had multiple jump points saw massive booms in population because that redundancy provided security and comfort. And those that only had one jump point coming in started to have people just flocking away. Now, people even started returning back to Earth, home, which is in direct opposition with the vision that was established, and unfortunate for Earth, which has already got overpopulation issues going on at this time. Now, there were even some hoaxes of signals, of course, people being people, messages coming from Oratani, but all of those have really been confirmed to be false, though there's still some people that believe that there are voices coming from Oratani today. The short version of all of this is that those people were stranded, and we basically have no idea what is happening in that system, if there's anything going on there at all. I kind of look at it and say you have thousands of people there, you had starships there, you had terraforming equipment there. They probably had a good way to make this work. The question there is really probably more about food and rationing and then that kind of category. So there's a strong possibility here that there's going to be an opportunity for a player to find a jump point leading to Oratani.
I think we're going to enter a different economy.
So if you're an explorer,
every time we go into another solar
Pharaon
system
area, could be an interesting search. Though potentially kind of maddening at the same time because we don't really know if anybody is going to find this. I think they probably will. But, if you kind of get an idea of where Oratani could be, you could probably start looking in those types of systems to see if you can find your way in. Now, as far as planets in the system, we saw a mesoplanet that was in close orbit to the star. Oratani 2 was the non-oxygenated ocean world where terraforming began. Oratani 3 was an ice world that had a promise as a terraforming candidate. Fourth planet was a gas dwarf that had not been examined very thoroughly. Oratani 5 was a gas giant filled with hydrogen and helium. And 6 was way out in orbit, was a dwarf planet. Now, I'll obviously be skipping the jump points to other systems and the who would want to come here segment of this type of video because, well, it's pretty obvious. So that's the Oratani system. If you guys have questions on any of this, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for a lot more coming soon, and have a wonderful day. Take care.
All right. STL. Youngblood. I'll link this video. For you guys to like, subscribe. Okay, up next on the list is to check and see if Technical Advance come in with anything. Nope, nothing new. So, Super Mac Brother? Oh, yes, 2 days ago.
Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week we see some incredible in-game footage of Hurston's Savannah biome and its moon Aberdeen. We get to check out the updates to the Freelancer and the Mustang variants, plus the roadmap is finally updated. So kicking it off with calling all devs as usual, first question is, can we get a single player Star Marine mode where no enemies are in there, just for exploring and testing purposes, which I would quite like that, to be honest, for org tests and group tests and whatnot. It is something they will talk about, it just needs the resources to get it sorted. They will discuss how hard and how difficult it could be, or how long it will take, and then come back to us. Something I would really like is that, so it's nice to hear that they're thinking about it. Next question, what are the long-term plans for updating or replacing the 5-star, sort of GTA-style crime stat rating? Now, this is only a temporary crime stat system or reputation system which was just bunged into the PU quickly for a means to an end. The goal is to have criminality, local law, and reputation systems. Local law will determine what you can do in that location. Some laws will vary depending on the space that you are in. For example, UEE may be pretty strict, but other areas may allow you to do a little more, like a bit more leeway. Reputation will determine how much they want to get you, so if you've got a low reputation, it'll just be that if you're in the right place at the right time, they'll pick you up. Higher reputation means that they may try to hunt you, send out ships, put a bounty on your head, or try and actively destroy you, so it will vary and there'll be somewhere in between that. Now also do remember that if you have a crime stat in one location, that law does not carry over to somewhere else. So if you are in UEE space and you go to Crusader, for example, although Crusader is in UEE space, they have their own security force, so it could vary. So if you have a crime stat in Crusader, it might not carry out to the rest of the UEE, but that's a bad example, to be honest. The criminality system is more to do with locking you away, holding you, keeping you in a place for a short term, kind of a reaction to what you've done, but then it's forgotten the next time you come round. So it's not really, it's kind of like a quick punishment, really. Next question is, with ships spawning in ships, when will we be able to have this? When will it persist? Now, they said that it's still on the cards, but it's not on the current roadmap. They have experimented with it, but it's nowhere near being ready to be implemented yet. The roadmap will likely show us when it's going to come, so we will see it maybe a year in advance unless they bring it forward. So final question, when is the multiple physics grid tech coming to allow for docking, ship disabling, boarding and whatnot? It seems very important.
Anybody know if they mentioned the new ray tracing
but they have done some work
being implemented for Star Citizen?
Features as some other ones. Also, multiple physics grids depends heavily on object container streaming, along with pretty much everything else in the game. So yeah, it's on the backlog. It's not a priority at the moment, but it is important to them all the same. Anyway, that was Calling All Devs, guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. It's nice to hear about this criminality system and, well, all the systems involved in this. Looking forward to when we get hold of that. So on to Around the Verse. They started off by telling us they're improving the Hurston moons. They've added polishing and blending passes on Aberdeen, which is one of the Hurston moons. This looks really good. It's nice to see different landscapes and what looks to be a different atmosphere as well. So I'm really hoping that for some of the missions, they require you to land and proceed on foot or within a land vehicle to collect the objective rather than just being able to fly and land everywhere. We also got to see Hurston's Savannah biome. This has particles and textures currently being added to them. They're paying particular attention to how low textures can change according to distance, and this just looks incredible, especially how well the Avenger blends with the environment. I, for one, cannot wait to explore the surface of Hurston. This is just one of many of Hurston's biomes, so building a nice little outpost there would be perfect. The UI team are iterating on the rental experience for Star Marine. We can see the updated item selection screens and the rental costs per so long. Take them with a pinch of salt. I'm sure they're not really worked out fully yet. But it's quite interesting to see how this will enable us to rent armor and weapons. And I expect that once they've done it with Star Marine and Arena Commander, then they'll move on to PU ship rentals. Hopefully still making it into 3.3, but we'll see. So from there, they wanted to talk about scramble racing. We've heard of this before. They did find that the Cyclones won the checkpoint races every time, as they are much quicker than the Ursa Rovers, so they changed it up slightly, and it appears that they made it more about points rather than checkpoints, and this sounds as though the Ursa Rovers can still win by taking out the Cyclones who are collecting points, and taking all their points basically, instead of having to go to the checkpoints each time. The props team are finishing up work on the triage props for medical gameplay in Squadron 42, Apparently this set of medical equipment will eventually make it into the PU as well, but unfortunately we didn't get to see any of them. We
wonder
did get
how a
to see
couple
first
old men
look at
like
the
us would
completed
do,
versions
Grizz, if
of
we
the
went in a
utilitarian hubs.
rover.
They are looking really cool.
Did
and
one
I
of those
cannot wait
things.
to own or rent my own one of these. Soon we will be able to store our clothes, weapons, and equipment having a solid location, especially when this physicalized inventory comes in, which we've seen on the roadmap. This
Our
will go hand in
cat-like
hand with that, being able to
reflexes.
store items where you want. Hopefully they won't all come messy and full of junk though. The quantum drive, they've got it to perform as it should based on the power it is allocated. So less power means it takes longer for the quantum drive to calibrate a jump. Obviously more power decreases the time, allowing you to jump quicker. Very excited to see this type of gameplay coming in. It creates situations where you need to learn more about your ships and its abilities, leading to better upgrades of the components, or even providing more multi-crew gameplay on larger ships, giving someone something to do in another seat. So to finish off with, there was a quick ship update. The Freelancer variants are in grey box phase right now. The Max is white and orange in colour and has a super wide cargo hold.
White and
the Exploration
orange.
variant, the Freelancer Der, is blue and orange, sacrificing its payload space for additional fuel tanks. And the Misk, which is a cool sort of matte green paintwork. This will include a retractable launcher on the primary hull, allowing for more firepower. They also said the 890 jump is coming along well.
White and orange, man. I'll tell you what they've been doing.
As well as a swimming
I know
pool
they've
for
been doing.
entertaining. It looks pretty nice.
I'm
Although I'm
100%
not too
sure
fussed
that they've
about
been
owning one
doing.
or being in one.
Anybody that
It
would
does
think
look
of a
pretty
white
cool.
and orange
Anyway, that was
spaceship
around the
had
verse,
to be
guys.
smoking
Let's move
some
on to
weed.
Reverse the Verse, which takes a look at the new Mustang series. So, for Reverse the Verse, Jared sat down with Elwin Batchel Jr., who is the lead vehicle artist there in LA. They were taking a look at the current status of the Mustang rework, checking out all the variants as well. With the new metrics getting fleshed out, they needed to ensure that the Mustang adhered to them. Having enough room to maneuver throughout the Mustang Beta, for example, is one of the reasons why they did that. It's basically pure usability. Being able to climb into the Mustang was a mess from the interactive standpoint of going up that little ladder in the center, so it just makes it a little more usable, a little more logical, really. But they jumped into the editor and we got to see a lot of this. We saw the cockpit of the Mustang. All the cockpits are the same throughout the variants. They're still building out the UI, but it will be presented on a clean single screen, single sheet of glass. The cargo bay is a little lift on the Alpha which picks up the boxes and lifts them or drops them down and lays the boxes out on the ground. 6 standard cargo
My
units, I
car
believe, is
colors
what they said it would
are
hold. But it does sit
black,
flush within the
white,
ship's geometry. The boxes
forest
are visible,
green,
but it doesn't stick
and
out
midnight
at all, so
blue.
it looks pretty neat.
And I'll take
it took the
metallic
Pioneer concepts
in
and
any
used
of
it to
those.
establish the Mustang's looks. Lots of flat, detailed areas in small chunks, but still with an aggressive feel. Now the wings, these
I like
little
maroon,
landing struts,
too.
no longer are the landing struts. They fold down.
Black and maroon
or
looks
up,
really
depending
good
on
together.
what mode you're in. It uses wheels instead for landing gear, and it does look cool when it transitions between the two. It also helps if the wings are shot off, being able to land with the wheels rather than the struts being non-existent and you just flopping to the side. There is a nice smooth entry animation with the ladder coming down and the canopy opening. And what we are seeing is an early build, so there's a lot of work left to do, like the visual effects, for example. Now the Mustang Beta, which is probably the more unique out of the lot of them, is the only Mustang with an internal living space. There's a door straight behind the cockpit, and with the new
That's a
metric
lot of
changes,
room, man.
you can stand up
For that
fully
little
without
ship.
having to crouch. They've cleaned it up a lot in terms of navigation. You can walk through and walk around it freely without getting caught on anything. The toilets moved to the
For the
rear.
price,
There's no longer
that's,
a couch, unfortunately,
that's a lot of
nor a
space.
TV. But they are looking at maybe putting a display above the bed so that when you're laying down in bed you can watch something. Still undetermined as to whether they'll do that or not, but it does look nice. I did prefer the old interior, if I'm honest, but it obviously had to change. And
I would like that as long as it's like a midnight blue to a dark
sort of
purple.
olive drab with more firepower and better quality combat components, because it's kind of the military version. You can see the rocket pods, which are all dumbfire, so you need to be good with those. The racing variants are the Gamma and the Omega. That has a third engine where the habitation is on the Mustang Beta, or where the cargo section is on the Alpha. It has also got some cool liveries on the surface. The Omega will obviously have its AMD logo on there, as it was a promotional one. But it will be great if we can see some sponsors of our own, and maybe our own orgs can sponsor our ships and get decals and whatnot. A long way down the line, I'm sure, if it ever comes in. But all the non-racing Mustangs have gimbaled weapon mounts. The racing variants have fuel intakes there instead for obvious reasons. So that was at a TV. I am very happy that we got to see the new Mustangs, especially the Beta. I've owned the Beta for a long time now. One of my favourite ships. and I cannot wait to get hold of it in 3.3. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys. Let's move on. So also this week, Galactic Guide took a look at the developing system Gurzel. For subscribers, a new portfolio post was released talking about the new rest drops, its history and its growth in the universe. And finally, the roadmap has officially been updated. Do keep an eye out, as I shall be putting out a video early this week showing off what's coming for 3.3 and the rest of the year. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help...
Alright. Let's give this one a link. So you guys can like and subscribe. Back to the car colors. There was a paint for one of the special edition Cobras that was, the paint job was so expensive it wasn't even funny, and it was like something that you had a special order on top of having a special order car. And I believe it was a Roush edition, and this paint, it was color changing, but it wasn't just two colors, dude. It was like, it could be yellow, it could be brown, it could be green, and it could be like that teal color. It was all like snake looking colors, dude. And there was like a holographic type of scale pattern that would only come out when it hit like the green and blue area of the spectrum. And it was nice, dude. It was really nice. I worked for Ford, and we had one of those in the parking lot for show. They had like poles and all roped around it so you couldn't actually touch it, but it was out there to look at, dude. And you walked around in the sun, and it changed. But a couple years after that, because I'm in the automotive industry, a couple years after that, they came out with the same type of paint, except for you could control the color change. Instead of it being prismatic, it was magnetic. So you had like a panel in your car, like a graphic equalizer. And you could like just make your car look like whatever the hell you want, dude, with this graphic equalizer. You could like start out with pink in the front and fade it to like a green in the back, whatever you wanted to do. And it would stay, and you could make like presets and hit the button and change the color on the car. But I've never seen that put in the like practice yet. I only saw the prototype at the plant, and they were playing around with it for an auto show car. All right, back to the news. Where were we at? We just got done with Supermac, Citizen, Gamer. I think they're taking a break, but we'll look anyways. Citizen, Gamer. They said that they were taking a break to do their studio and stuff, but obviously they are here 22 hours ago with our Blastcast number 148. Uh-oh, hydration bot. I've been waiting for this one. Gotta stay hydrated, baby. All right, here we go.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Blastcast. I'm Jarvis, and with me, as always, is the ultimate Dragon Slayer, Lightning Dragon, which is actually kind of, is that suicidal?
No, because see, they're not the same type as me, so therefore it's okay.
Oh, so it's homicidal.
Yeah, no, I mean they're just creatures. They don't have any rights.
Before we get into Around the Verse, I just want to say thanks for letting me have some time off. I really needed it.
Copper.
Last week I was just fried.
Copper
it was
and
nice
black
to just
would be
spend
nice.
the week unwinding.
Black
doing
with,
videos like this.
copper,
It can need
stripes.
several days out of the week. I know it doesn't seem like it, but editing and stuff, and I'm a stickler trying to fix the audio, though I always seem to mess up on the music a bit for being too loud, but I'm trying. So let's go ahead and get into the news. Now, I read something on Reddit I thought that was interesting, so I'll give you the rundown on that. There's a German gaming website called GameStar, and they did an interview with CIG and talking about the OCS, the container system. So this is what the change is. Currently in Port Olisar, as you're standing there, the game calculates about 70,000 entries. And with the container system, it's reduced to about 9,000. That's huge. Now, I don't expect them to 100% not use all that extra data. They're going to fill the stations with more NPCs and make the world look a little bit more alive. But even if they cut it in half, that's huge. But right now, it's about an 8-fold time reduction in what your game is needing to calculate for entities. Wow, that's impressive.
One of the biggest areas in the game as well.
Yeah, actually, Olisar really is the linchpin test, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Around the Verse news.
Turrets.
Turrets. Now, this is from last week, of course. I'm mixing a little bit of both. The turret system they showed looks a little bit like what you would see to some degree in World of Tanks or in World of Warships. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, exactly. So basically, you put your cursor over where you want the turret to be. The turret has a slew rate and moves to that location. And if you're using a stick, it sounds like it's a one-to-one input, meaning that when you stop turning your stick, it stops turning the turret. This could actually work, but it depends on some other factors, such as the changes of the flight model, how quickly the opponents can change their vectors based on those flight model
whatever
changes.
you want, Ruckus.
But it does
There's
open
no
up some very
rules here.
interesting possibilities.
It's
when
wide
you're looking
open.
at upgrades. Maybe you can have turret upgrades that have faster slew rates, or maybe
But if
even
you screw up, you're gonna
slower
wreck it
turning
for
turrets that
everybody.
have bigger guns on them. I don't know. There's lots
Then
of
I'll have to put
possibilities out
rules there.
But this looks like a really good
So
starting
if we
point.
see a bunch of naked
And
girls on there,
We'll just kind of have to see how it goes.
we know
They
who
still
forced me
need
to put the
unlock
rules.
turrets from the ship though, and there's other little things, but hopefully they're changing things for the better.
Now, in a more recent Around the Verse, they showed something that just made my heart flutter. They showed up all three of my variants of the Freelancer, the Dur, the Max, and the Miss.
Because you have to have everything.
Well, I don't have the default Freelancer. It seemed kind of pointless having those other ones. Now, some people were complaining about the colors they chose, but it doesn't matter what colors they give them because you're going to be able to change that when you're in the game. So, obviously, I'm going pink on everything. Blazing pink.
I could make an argument for red. You know, the blood of your enemies.
That's true. They are looking incredible. And my package ship is a
that's so
Freelancer
nice.
Max. And I think that one looks big enough. Maybe you can actually fit a ground vehicle into it.
I'd call that
that'd be
an
the
amber
smallest little
color.
ground vehicle transporter.
Not copper.
Maybe for one of those tumbrils, or maybe for, I don't know, a small fleet of motorcycles, hover bikes.
So are you saying that it's the smallest carrier in the game now?
It might be. It might be. It looks like you could put an M50 in there.
I mean, it's a pretty big ship, yeah. But we also have flying motorcycles because reasons.
I want to see that.
Yeah. But
The smallest carrier in the game now?
it might be. It might be. It looks like you could put an M50 in there.
I mean, it's a pretty big ship, yeah. But we also have flying motorcycles because reasons.
Well, yeah. But in Star Citizen, one of the most popular games is, will it fit? So someone's going to find out exactly what fits in there the moment that ship goes live. Reverse Diverso is all about the Mustang updates. And I have to tell you what, this ship is coming along really, really well. It is a sharp-looking ship. Frankly, if I had to choose a starting ship, just from aesthetics, hands down, it's got to be the Mustang. I absolutely just adore how this ship is going. And I couldn't be happier about them having the wings fold up and having the landing gear not on those wings. Now, if they could just do that with the Hornet or similar ships.
No, the Hornet has to have extra wheels on the tips of the wings.
Well, as I said, it's not the issue of the landing gear on the wings as much as the fact that there's no wing. You hit landing gear, and suddenly there's a magical pop out, and there's a gear floating in midair, and you land on it. It just looks weird.
Because it's magical. Don't deny the power of the Hornet.
Calling out devs this week was pretty straightforward. There was a question asked, why do ships hover on the planets the way they do? Of course, John Crew was asked, and he responded with this.
The maneuvering thrusters on ships are more powerful than they want them to be or we want them to be they want them to be.
That's what we call in the industry a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I wonder who they are. I mean, we. Sorry, I misspoke there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a conflict, between what Chris wants and what the flight team wants, and I think that little slip right there was I couldn't help but giggle about that. So good times. As we wrap things up here, I know, yes, very short episode, but you know what? We're in the drought. We're in the CitizenCon drought. It's just how it's going to be. And some weeks there may not even be a show until the CitizenCon passes. There might not be much to talk about. Later this week, we are also going to be playing Monster Hunter for the first time. Lightning Dragon and I have never played before. It came on a PC, Monster Hunter World, and we've been stepping into it, learning it, and frankly, getting our asses beaten.
I ordered Battlefield 5, and I also got the new RTX 2080 Ti coming. And Battlefield 5 supports the new ray tracing technology, my understanding. And once we get through all the Star Citizen stuff, because I want to know all about my new toy, we're going to go research some 2080 Ti and some Battlefield 5 stuff, just to see what actually I'm going to end up with.
It's probably you more than me. I have a shield.
Yeah. Well, it's a learning process, but I'm getting better. No, I really, really enjoy it, and we'll have some footage up of that. And also, as kind of a preliminary thought on No Man's Sky, for those of you wondering how it is compared to what it was, I can tell you from having played it in the past that it's way better. It is a very grindy game, so if you hate grindy games, it's not for you at all. It's the kind of game you play when you're watching YouTube videos.
Tell you what I think about No Man's Sky.
That's the kind of thing kind of game that it is. Lightning, you agree it's grindy, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to compare the two games, which Monster Hunter does have a lot of grinding in it, it's more of like farming.
Yeah, but it's more action-based, so you're always like...
Yeah, if you put 30 hours of gameplay into No Man's Sky, there's a good chance you're still on the first planet. If you put 30 hours of gameplay into Monster Hunter, you've probably done about half of the story, though I don't know how long the story actually is, but you probably have a good idea of how combat works, what upgrade options you have. You probably have upgraded your weapons several times. You've gone through different types of armor, and there's just really no comparison between the two.
Yeah. And if you're that much time with No Man's Sky, you may have just gotten your first replacement ship. So
if you're lucky.
So yeah, it's one of those things that it's better, grindy as hell, but better. As a special bonus for those of you who actually listen this far in the show, the day the Blastcast came out 2 weeks ago was my birthday. And we went out and had a birthday dinner. Now, I'm not much of a drinker. I drink only on my birthday once a year. So
I got booze in my fridge.
I got Project Cars too.
As you can imagine,
also,
it makes me somewhat of a lightweight. So I got absolutely
by a steering wheel.
And when I got back, I challenged Lightning Dragon to a game of Grid Autosport to see how awesome a drunk man can race a high-performance sports car.
Excellently.
So it's completely goofy. The links can be down in the description below. I couldn't put it up on the channel, not because I didn't know where it fit, and it's not going to be linked anywhere else. But it's called the Drunk Cast, and basically we just went nuts. I went nuts. He went normal.
The Drunk
and
Cast.
Chaos ensues. So if you want to see me completely and totally out of my mind, this is going to be a good one for you. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for this week's Blastcast. I said there may be a show next week. There may not be a show next week, though I will make videos, even if it's not Star Citizen related. As I said, we're getting into the whole Gamescom timeframe, and it's one of those things that every year about this year, we just run into a drought of information. They're holding it all back with a big presentation, and then we're going to have too much to talk about. We'll probably end up with our annual show, like we have CitizenCon, and we end up with, a 40 or 50 minute show and
1 hour Blastcast.
Yeah, or something. Who knows? But they're more silent than I've ever seen them. So this has got to be a big one. I just have that feeling. Anyway, guys, we'll catch you in the next one.
I've just got this.
Yeah, I need a wheel and a shifter for my cockpit. And some quick way to convert it. I haven't figured out yet. To go from flight to driving without having to like unbolt stuff. Maybe some industrial Velcro might hold. I don't know. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it. All I know is I bought the game and I just need to get the wheel and the shifter for it, which I'm gonna ask for Christmas. Okay, where were we at? Let's see, the laminal. I don't know, nothing. Board gamer. Mr. Board Gamer. Calling all devs. Mustang updates. This is us, guys. This is us.
Come to some more Star Citizen with a summary of the Mustang series updates from Reverse the Verse recently, and Calling All Devs Weapons at Rest. A summary of that as well, which looked at additions to the Stanton system, maneuvering thrusters, and FPS weapon resting positions. ArcCorp is supposed to have an asteroid field and ArcCorp gateways sitting in between it and Crusader. The Aaron Halo is what it's called. The first release of ArcCorp won't have this Aaron Halo. It won't have that part of space there. They are going to be evolving their tech for asteroids and lighting. They want asteroid fields and ships that are there to look great with
I'm having
stars
too much fun with my buttons.
And they want areas of space to be extremely atmospheric is the idea here. They don't want asteroid fields and areas of space to feel flat, basically. It's going to be added, that Aaron Halo, in a separate release to ArcCorp at a separate date. Space will get a lot more detail.
I like
and
wintertime.
Interesting things going forward.
And
Maneuvering
Star Citizen,
thrusters
I think
at the
it's pretty
moment
cool.
are overpowered. This means ships are able to move in atmosphere at the moment in ways that you shouldn't be able to.
I can see myself on a Nox flying
ships,
through space
can,
in a
turn,
blizzard,
smaller ones
delivering
anyway,
presents.
upside down and fly around upside down in atmosphere, things like that. They shouldn't be able to do that, or at least it should be a big burden. Thrusters, the VFX for them, can be hard to see in daylight as they were originally designed for space contrast. So they need to make them look like they're doing a lot of work when they're in atmosphere, because the idea is that it will burn a lot more fuel very quickly when they're in atmosphere. Maneuvering thrusters will be tuned appropriately in the future. Larger ships, even at the moment, really need to use their VTOL thrusters and orientate themselves when coming into atmosphere. So the heavier, the larger the ship, the more likely they need to be aware that they're coming, but they're still not rocket pod / rocket mount. Just literally blocked off. This takes 3 Mustangs with the way the ship looks. The Pioneer developing the ramp that folds down. Also, the cargo of any part of space that you can look out into. You're going to be able to carry cargo for missions eventually as well. So the cargo of the ship is visible from the exterior rear through a transparent pane on the back. So there's a cargo door and ramp that folds down at the rear that allows you access to the Alpha's 6 SCU of cargo. It has 3 wheels for its landing gear now as well, rather than landing on its wings. The materials and colours have been updated based on the Pioneer developing the Consolidated Outlands manufacturer, and a bit better now. A lot of the improvements they've made to ships in general actually is by reducing the amount of geometry and then instead using techniques to improve the way the ship looks, and using textures and techniques to make areas look 3D even though they are actually flat, effectively making them more resource efficient so that they can have 3 Mustangs with the same amount of resources as they previously could have had just 1. The Beta, so the Mustang Beta, has a habitation area behind the cockpit seat. There is a door leading to that area with a bed, sink, and a toilet shower combo. On the other variants, it's blocked off. So you can't, there's no door at the back, it's just literally blocked off. This takes up basically what was the cargo area in the Alpha. The Omega and Gamma have an additional engine in this area. They are the racing variants after all. The Delta, which is the military version, has nothing in this area. It's just blocked off, though it has military grade components and an additional rocket pod / rocket mount. The Alpha, Beta, and Delta have a nose mount with 2 size 1 weapons on it. They also have the ability to take an additional 2 size 1 weapons on the wings. The racing versions don't have that nose mount, but instead have an additional fuel intake where it was, and the cockpit now opens up from the side, and you get in via a ladder, much more sensible than the previous sort of like central turreted mechanism they had. I think that rework of the Mustang is absolutely fantastic looking, and by far it is my most recommended starting ship now. I mean, the Aurora is fine. I'm sure they rebalanced the Aurora very slightly, but the Mustang looks great. It's got a very small landing profile. It's got cargo, the Alpha anyway, and that's the one I would recommend. And it's got those, it's got good modding when it comes to weapons and equipment and that sort of stuff. So I just think it's an all-round great starter ship now. But please tell me what you think in the comments below. If you've got any questions, if you want me to look at anything in particular videos wise. I am very excited about the NVIDIA 20 series coming out, looks like next month, which will be great. I do want to get a third-party card rather than a Founders Edition, though, and we'll talk more about that. I am going through a lot of hardware at the moment. I've got some Virpil HODAS and sticks to look at, as well as a load of Gigabyte enclosures, which are actually pretty cool as an alternative to upgrading entirely or buying a whole new rig. We shall talk about that in another video, though. Be sure to check out Shadow. It's a cloud-based alternative to getting or upgrading your gaming PC. It allows you to leverage the power of a GeForce 1080 at the moment and a powerful Windows 10 PC on almost any device, so long as your internet connection is good enough. It works with Star Citizen Alpha 3.2, and with 3.3 coming in September with object container streaming, it's only going to get better. If you do try it out, be sure to use the code BOARDGAMER to get a discount. Links to more info in the description below. Every month we have a giveaway. For August, it's for a Saber Raven. All you need to do is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos during the month for a chance to win. Thank you so much for your continued support, guys, and for watching. Please take care, and I'll see you in the verse.
All right, I just put the link in the chat. Make sure you go there and leave a comment so you have a chance to win the Saber Raven. Very important. Saber Raven. All right. Now let's see what news bringing in. I think my phone went off today.
Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier and welcome to the monthly Patreon giveaway. First, a quick announcement. I have an opportunity to visit and tour Turbulent Montreal and interview Benoit. This is your opportunity to get your FOIP, VoIP, and Spectrum questions answered directly from the man responsible to put it together. I've placed a link in the description to a Spectrum thread where you can ask your questions. Moving on. I wanted to give a shout out to those citizens who support this channel's Patreon fund. It's because of their support to this community that I'm able to offer these contests. Their support.
He's building a new studio in his basement. Those were pictures.
Comes back to you in the form of these giveaways, and the giveaways allow me to reach new gamers who may have never heard of Star Citizen. Please share the link to this giveaway with a friend and get them involved. What a great way to become a citizen by winning a brand new ship. Now, in the channel's regular no bullshit style, here's what you need to know. This month's prize is a Hercules Starlifter C2 with lifetime insurance. This ship is very exciting because of its cargo capacity, and it's currently the only ship that can carry 2 tonks. Here are the rules. First, you must be a subscriber at the time of the draw. And second, you must post something in the comment section of this video. And that's it. The contest will end Friday at midnight on the 31st of August Eastern Standard Time, and the winner will be chosen by a random number generator. If you've never heard of Star Citizen, welcome to the verse. If this is your first time at this channel, please take a look at some of the other content. Subscribe, comment, and good luck.
All right. You know what we got to do? We need to enter this. So, let's go back. Got it. So I'll put the link here for us. And if you're not already a subscriber, you subscribe, and then we're gonna leave a comment. Any comment. Just gonna put I want this ship. Even though I do have an A2, I do want this ship. Might win it. I got just as much chance as everybody else. Never entered one before. Oh, good. All right. I want to watch something on the 2080 Ti and this ray tracing bullshit technology that may or may not be any good.
NVIDIA event for the 2070, 2080, and 2080 Ti launch, which includes official specifications and pricing from NVIDIA. NVIDIA could have handled the event a lot better overall, as we'll talk about momentarily, but for now we do have the core specifications that we can go through and some release dates and prices. Before that, this video is brought to you by the EVGA CLC280 liquid cooler. People ask me how I keep cool during the summer with all this hair. Well, I've tried a lot of different products, and few do exactly what I need. Many of them cause tangles or worse. EVGA CLC280 helps keep my core temperatures low during hot benchmarking sessions. The CLC280 is price competitive and focuses on performance for value, offering a 280 liquid cooler at an affordable price. Get yours at the link in the description below. Hair mounting kit sold separately. The RTX 2070, 80, and 2080 Ti were all officially announced today. The announcement could have been a lot better. There were many things that were really not the best with the way NVIDIA handled this event, but perhaps that will be discussed in a different video. Just to clarify something here on the pricing, so there's two sets of pricing that NVIDIA released. There's one on their website, which is for $600, $800, and $1,200, and then there's one that was released at the event for $500, $700, and $1,000, and that one had a different slide, and we think it either coincides with the reference pricing versus FE pricing, so there might be two disparate SKUs, or it could just be a miscommunication.
I'm getting the
really
bottom
sure
one.
Time.
The
Other than that, though, we do have
2080
some Gigabyte,
Ti
which seems to coincide
founders,
more closely with the higher prices.
And I'm going to water block
range
it.
Is $790 to $830 for the 2080, and $1170 to a bit more than that for the 2080 Ti. So we have some partner card prices already. It'll be linked in the article in the description below if you want more. And September 20th for the availability of the 2080 Ti and the 2080 with a 2070 TBD. No release date on that just yet. The cooler is the most interesting next thing other than hard specs, and that's because it looks like NVIDIA is going for a dual axial cooler, much like most of their partners do or have done in the past. In the renders, if they're representative of the real product, they have 13 blades across 2 fans, and they are positioned over the VRM and over the GPU core, as you would expect. So this is particularly interesting, because moving to a dual axial cooler is going to be more similar to what the partners do, especially for the 2-fan cards, which means that, I don't know, we could see some of the partners getting pushed either out of the market or towards 3-fan coolers, and that's probably why a lot of the leaked coolers you saw were 3-fan, because NVIDIA is doing this. So very interesting and curious implications for the partners, where, I'll be honest, I'm a bit concerned that there might be some NVIDIA kind of pushing the partners around or out of the market at some of the price points where they've existed in the past. But it all depends on how good that dual axial cooler is that NVIDIA made. The leaked PCB shots looked like 70 amp power stages. If that's accurate for the 2080 Ti, then that's a pretty damn good VRM too. What we also know is that the specs for the cards remain largely the same as what we saw leading up to launch. So just to go over each card individually, we have the 2070 up first. This one has 2304 CUDA cores. CUDA cores are just FPUs, so an FPU is not really a true core, and SM's closer to that. They can't do a lot of things that cores can do. They can compute, but they can't fetch and put stuff into registers from registers. Can't really work with the cache quite the same way as a core can, so you get the idea. But regardless, 2304 FPUs on the 2070. It's got a 1710 megahertz boost clock, and this is for the Founders Edition. I need to note that too. So there are 2 specs for the NVIDIA cards today. There's the Founders Edition and the reference spec. And the reference, I believe, is what the partners will be starting from. The Founders is a bit higher. So it's kind of going back to the confusion that NVIDIA created in Austin in 2016 when we had to make a special video clarifying what the heck Founders Edition means. Because at the time, it actually wasn't special. All it meant was reference, except renamed. But now, it looks like it is going to be a bit special in that it's got a bit of a higher clock than the reference spec. So FE might actually go towards what people mistakenly thought it was in 2016. That's kind of what it looks like right now. Base clock 1410 for both reference and FE, 14 gigabits per second memory speed, 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 256-bit memory interface for the 2070, 448 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth, and then all of the other stuff is as you would expect. Also, these cards have NVLink support, which is pretty interesting too. So we'll talk about that more perhaps in a secondary video. But SLI as we know it is going away, and NVLink is what's going to be replacing it. For the next card, let's talk about the 2080. We'll just go in order here. 2080, 2944 FPUs, or CUDA cores as they call it, 1800 megahertz boost clock, 1515 base, and the reference non-FE version is 1710 for the boost clock. That's the only difference. The memory configuration is 8 gigabytes of GDDR6. They've got 14 gigabytes per second memory speed, 256-bit memory
That's
interface.
A pretty big difference on the clock for the Founders Edition. There.
And then the 2080 Ti, 4352 FPUs for that one, pretty big, and 1635 boost clock, or 1545 for the reference spec as opposed to the FE spec, 1350 for the base clock. Same memory, except 11 gigabytes, 352-bit bus, so 1616 gigabytes per second. And that leads us back to a few other notes from the presentation, or things that we kind of thought and put together while we were watching it. First one, NVLink for SLI, $80 for the bridge if you want it. And NVIDIA, frankly, hasn't done a great job of convincing us that we need SLI or that it's worth buying, but we'll see if that changes. NVLink's quite a bit different. It's possible that SLI could now come back into play with NVLink if the developers support it. That's the big question. But either way, it's a difference and it's interesting. The cooler we kind of talked about, a little unsure of how that's going to affect partners and partner relations, but NVIDIA is in a dominant position in the market, and they don't really need to worry that much about much of anything. The next part, in the presentation, routinely, Jensen Huang stated that it would take 10 1080 Ti's to keep up with one Tensor core. One note on this, that does not mean that one GPU from a 1080 Ti class card, one 1080 Ti, is going to be that different, a 10x change versus one Tensor core. That's not what that means. So when they're talking about Tensor core speeds and being 10 times the speed of a 1080 Ti, what is really being discussed is the deep learning capabilities, machine learning, AI processing. These things are a bit different than what we deal with in graphics. So one 1080 Ti does not equal 1/10 of a Turing GPU, or even a Tensor core is what they're really saying. In fact, what is happening is that one Tensor core can do 10 times the work of a 1080 Ti in specific applications like deep learning and machine learning. So that I just thought was important to note, because probably a lot of people might not catch that part. Image processing is a big one, by the way, like if you're processing billions of images or something like that. Next one. So there was a lot of time spent talking about shadows, shadow occlusion, ray tracing, recaps of the event from March, all the same information. Turing's been in development for 10 years, according to the CEO on stage, and it's the second largest ever made behind the V100 for the Quadro class high-end cards that were revealed previously. The SM is brand new. It can do independent FP and integer operations to split color and address processing. How that affects gaming, or if it affects gaming, TBD. The next thing of note here, so another item in the presentation, 2x speed of a 1080 Ti, but only with 4K DLSS mode enabled. So one of the slides they showed said 2x speed of a 1080 Ti. That may well certainly be true, and probably is. But the specific instance that was true was with 4K resolution with a new special mode enabled. And this is similar to what we saw with the 1080 Ti, where, yeah, in 4K it was pretty substantially advantaged over the 1080. So not saying that it's misleading, it really wasn't. They had it on the screen. It was pretty obvious. But I did want to make sure that everyone in the audience caught what was on the screen, which is that the 2x speed is under specific circumstances. Next one, the phone number that was on the screen, that was part of the joke, was RTX 2080, so that name was revealed pretty early on. the DGX4 Voltas. So DGX had 4 Voltas on it, processing that Star Wars image that was shown a long time ago, half a year ago. And the frame time for that was 55 milliseconds. One touring card was 45 milliseconds. They wanted to point that out. Pascal was 308 and had an 8x claimed difference by NVIDIA. And also a touring frame assembly. So if we talk about the pipeline for touring frames with tracing one of these like Star Wars type images, it's ray trace, integer 32 shading, FP32 shading, and DNN processing. It is semi-asynchronous. So FP32 shading happens during the entire frame. We have a block diagram of it. And ray tracing and integer 32 happen simultaneously with FP32. This is important. As we saw with the Titan V, asynchronous compute is taking a big step forward for NVIDIA in this generation. So we talked about it then, we confirmed it with NVIDIA at the time. Asynchronous compute is, if you're kind of looking past all the ray tracing stuff and at just the hard performance numbers, async compute is going to be where it's at for this card or this generation, assuming it's integrated properly with Vulkan or whatever the case may be. DNN generates pixels that haven't been finished yet. This is kind of interesting.
What does async
so new
compute
information
do?
with AI will be generated by the card so that it can finish frames faster and leave some pixels unfinished and then fill them in synthetically. Also, there's a new weighted number of Terra RTX ops, they're calling it, which is a weighting for FP32 and teraflops per gigaray. So they went with Terra RTX ops. And one note was they said 78 Terra RTX ops for the 2080, I would assume Ti, or basically touring card, versus 12 Terra RTX ops. It's a mouthful for Titan X. Did not specify which Titan X. There are 3 or 4 of them, so I could have used that clarification there. And I think that pretty much covers it. So big things here to talk about. Partner impact. How does a dual fan axial card impact what the partners make this generation? I think we're going to see a lot of 3-fan cards as a result, and probably, depending on the price floor for them, it's going to be harder to compete with NVIDIA at the absolute low end. Another potential point of impact, Pascal and AMD, neither of which have the capabilities for processing things like ray tracing that the touring cards do. So as ray tracing becomes an actual thing in real time, if it does in this generation, there's a bit of a concern where if you have it enabled, it's probably going to kill the performance on both Pascal and AMD. So it's not just an anti-AMD move, it's anti-everything that's not touring, which is fine. That's progress, and that's how technology moves. It's just that, keep in mind, just like with all the other high-end effects with any game that's come out, whether it's an AMD effect or an NVIDIA effect, you'll have to disable it to improve the performance on older generation cards. Not that new, but something worth noting. Ray tracing is the next kind of skeptical point, where this requires developer integration. RTX is an NVIDIA thing. It's an SD a significant period of time. It's been months for sure, but not on the scale of years as far as we're aware. So it could be a while before real-time ray tracing games, other than what was shown on stage, the couple of them there were, really take market share. And that means that the ray tracing
So, what you're seeing there is a tank firing off screen, being reflected in the character's eye.
Now, you guys know this is not possible with screen space reflection, right, Jonas?
Exactly.
Because the fire is not on the screen.
So now if we turn around and we then see the environment, we can see that the tank muzzle flash not only reflects in the eye, it reflects in the entire environment in the tram windows there and within the tank itself, moving here. So now if we keep moving forward, yeah. That's right. So of course, one of the big challenges of SSR is also complex surfaces like this. So now with RTX on, if we set off an explosion behind the tank here, but next to the car.
Oh, come on.
Reflecting accurately within the car.
That's
I would
impossible.
save up for the
How would you do that with
2080
RTX
Ti
off?
Yeah, how does that look? Like this here.
and just call it good
So let's,
for
yeah.
Wow,
2 generations.
that looks incredible.
And it's, of course, it's updating dynamically, everything.
Reflections will never be the same again. Look at the reflections off the ground, guys. It just.
Yeah, so you can see.
Wow, it just happens.
With SSR, if it's in the screen space, you still get some of the reflections upon the car, but due to the nature of SSR, it disappears as it goes away. But because ray tracing just works, you just get the expected result, how you think you would see it. So the next thing we have to show you is the big, scary crocodile tank, the Churchill. And if we make that one shoot its flamethrower across the scene here, then we will again see that reflecting upon the surface and on the soldiers battling it out here in Rotterdam. So now if we look down in the ground with RTX on, we'll see the flame, we'll see the soldiers moving, we'll see everything. And now if I turn RTX off, we lose everything. We lose all the detail, all the context of what's happening in the scene. But with RTX on, you just get a much more cohesive image and a better understanding of what's happening around you. So one thing we also pay particularly much attention to in Battlefield is just the weapons, accuracy, making sure the smallest detail is correct. And you can see even there, the flames are reflecting properly in the wood of this gun here and in the windows in the back. Now if I turn RTX off again, you lose all this detail. So yeah.
Wow.
Really cool.
Now Jonas,
that's
what
crazy,
you guys have done
dude.
Is all of
that's
your
crazy.
Guns,
I can't wait for my video card.
Physically.
Exactly.
It's physically based, and so
Holy
the gun has wood, which is diffused, is a dielectric material. You have metal, which is reflective, and the metal has substructure.
That's coming in like a wrecking ball.
So there's some roughness in it, and so without doing anything at all, because it's physically based, we shoot a ray into that scene. It intersects with a triangle on that piece of metal on the site, and it figures out I need to point, generate another reflection ray, and it traces its way to the flame which is coming by, and when it comes by, it accumulates on the surface, it shades it perfectly all by itself. Ladies and gentlemen, the magic of ray tracing.
Exactly. And there's more. So what you see now are objects that are really close by, but ray tracing works for more yet. So up here we've got two C-47 airplanes. They've been shot down, they're crashing with their engines on fire. So now if we go over to the car here, and you can also see the flame reflecting in the car nicely over there. So if we keep moving forward and then look down on this reflective car right here, we will still be able to see the plane. If we move back here, we can see the plane reflecting in the car. If I move this lens flare.
Wow, your lens flare works
right
good.
There, yeah. And with RTX off,
I love it.
Everything of
it. Look at that.
You can keep moving forward.
Wow.
I hate lens flare. I really do.
And Jonas, you guys did a great job with Fresnel reflection. Look when the angle is just right, it's just a perfect mirror. It looks beautiful.
So here it's a good example on transparent surfaces with Fresnel and PBR rendering. The more of an angle you're at, the stronger the reflection gets. And now with what we had before, on these ones were just cube maps, which they're also static, but with ray trace you get a lot more detail. You see the entire environment. And of course, as I said, the old school cube maps, they are also static. So say that we were to destroy this building here, make a tank shoot it, with ray tracing on, you'll be able to see frostbites and Battlefield's destruction system within the window, moving dynamically.
Holy shit.
And now,
wow.
To end it all off, RTX, I mean, it works on the entire scene. So what if we were to shoot off a V1 rocket here and zoom out, get a good view of the entire...
I'm going to play the shit out of that game.
And then take a look at the windows, all the places that you would expect to reflect. So now turn up the time again.
All right, guys. I'm going to go to bed. So let's find somebody to host. Or somebody to raid, I should say. 2060s should be out soon. As far as I know, they're coming soon. Probably it'd be announced like in like 2 weeks. You'll be able to pre-order the 2060s like that. So if I go to my channel, let me click on Star Citizen. Let's see. Like this guy right here, the old game. Good guy. You guys are gonna enjoy this guy. Take me a minute. Chat. Put in the old raid command. Bingo. We'll be raiding this guy.
Mighty Boosh? What?
Should be coming in any second on him.
Look at how much. So I don't always get the references.
I raided him before.
I'm just in the wrong spot. You know, that's what's wrong. Yeah, day after tomorrow. Wait, are we already in tomorrow? Where'd my watch go? Day after tomorrow, my life is going to be much more flexible.
I don't know if it worked or not.
You don't need cool ships. All you need is cool attitude. If I like Monty Python, what kind of a non-American do you think I am?
There we go. I did it wrong. I did it right this time.
Are you asking me if I've heard of Zero?
It's going. See you guys. Good night. It was good hanging out.
Oh, have I heard from Zero?
See you next week.
I thought you said, have I heard of Zero? I was like, bro. Really? I have, as a matter of fact. I have heard from Zero.